Hey guys, today we're going to react to the official word that US Club, US Youth, and AYSO put out there that they are officially going back to grade year age groups for club teams that they sanction. So let's go. All right, guys, they did it. They did it. We saw this coming. I've done two other videos on this now where in November, US Soccer just kind of put it out there. Hey, we're thinking about voting on this. And then they had their annual meeting and basically just said, leagues, clubs, do what you want. So you kind of saw the writing on the wall. And so let's go through. This was March 5th. So just last week, a few days ago, this was a joint statement put out again, and this is kind of how they do it. The three big youth organizations, they put out sort of these statements together. It's US Youth Soccer, US Club Soccer, and AYSO. And now there are several other youth organizations, which I've talked about before is a problem, but these are the three biggest ones. So they came together and announced that they have agreed to adopt the seasonal year age group formation cycle for its players. And now they're going to start that in 26, 27. I don't really see the point of that, just to be honest. I think, first of all, I think this should have been led by US Soccer. I've mentioned that before. Leadership doesn't delegate. Leadership says, this is what we're doing for the best of the country. But they didn't do that. They delegated. So what you're going to get is, which we'll talk about in a minute, kind of a little bit of a chaos situation, and then maybe it'll return to normal. But basically this year, nothing's changing. And from, September 1st to August 31st, starting in 2026, that will be the age group. And next they say, and I actually do agree with this, that the cycle running from September 1st to August 31st represents the opportunity for more players in each system to play with their classmates. And that's hard to really, argue against. That's definitely something that will happen. And I think the impetus for why this is what it is. And I do think it's a good thing, ultimately. So here's, I guess, I don't know why they're quoting this whole thing is a statement, but I guess these are the three, Tina Ricone, Mike Culina, and Doug Ryan. This is like they're all saying this. So the three organizations coming together to put our nation's soccer player first is a positive move. Yeah, it's a positive move. Soccer, regardless of the level of competition, is meant to be fun. Totally agree with. And it is most fun when players can play with their friends and their classmates. Again, totally agree. This decision is the right move for millions playing in each of the respective systems, and we are thrilled to establish this standard and find a common ground. Well, look, you switched it 8 years ago, and now you're just switching it back. So you're kind of correcting a mistake you made 8 years ago. I will say this again, as I said in other videos, if you were really concerned about the youth soccer system in the country, this is like way down on the priority list. They just go on to state that, they're making this decision after US Soccer said, yes, go ahead. Tina Ricone, who, now she does a couple things. Let me just remind myself here. So she is the US Soccer Youth Council Chair, but up here she's also a board member of USYS. I mean that seems like a conflict of interest. If you're the board chair of USYS, why are you also serving as US Soccer Youth Council as part of the federation? I mean, the federation is set up for all the leagues and all the clubs, so that seems like a conflict of interest. But there are a lot of conflict of interest when it comes to US Soccer, and I don't think that's the point of this video. Let's see what she had to say. We are excited that the three largest member organizations have aligned to make a decision that will bring the youth soccer landscape together rather than fracturing it. Oh boy. I guess that's true. I mean, there's so many other aspects of youth soccer that fracture it that, this is putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. I mean, this is not necessarily going to fix anything. And definitely in the short term, it is going to break up many teams. So it is going to fracture teams in the short term. Again, I will say in the long term, I think this is probably the right decision, but it is, to say this is we're bringing people together and all this stuff, I don't know if that I agree with that. We received input from a variety of sources that helped us reach this decision, and meet our goal of increasing participation. I do think that the decreased numbers, especially as you get into like U13 and above, this will help. And I think that this was a big factor in the fact that a lot of organizations, a lot of clubs see that when kids get to around 13 years old, there's a dramatic decrease in participation in soccer. And so I do think that that was probably the main reason that they did it. And I hope it works. I hope it gets more kids involved. Look forward to continuing work with other member organizations to make the best choices for youth soccer players and contribute collaboration with clubs and leagues to ensure a smooth transition. Lastly, it says the three organizations' registration parameters will not change for the next season, which I just think, just change it. Just change it. Let's move forward. And now we got this whole nebulous year where players are like, well, what are we going to do? We don't know. Families and parents are asking coaches who they don't know. I don't know what to tell anybody. So that I would just do it. Just be a leader. Just make a decision. They say that yes, the policy will go back to what we were doing in 2016. Yes. And they're saying the change was made to align with international soccer standards. That's not true. It's a FIFA standard. So if you go to a FIFA tournament, U17 is a birth year. It's got to be within a certain birth year, but it's not an international soccer standard that they play, that they have to be birth year. I mean, I've mentioned this on my other two videos before. In particular, England and France, they are registered per grade year. Now, if they go to a tournament, a FIFA tournament, they will play their birth year, so they might have to take a different team if the U17 national team for England goes to a tournament. But again, we're talking about like 1% of the 1%ers. Like, we're not talking about 99% of players who play. So to make a decision based on that makes absolutely no sense. Now this is an important statement. Okay, youth players born before September 1st will have the opportunity to play up with older age groups in accordance with their club's governance. So I think that's really important. So if, for example, you are a later birth year kid, you will have the opportunity to play with the team you're currently on. Now the problem, however, is that you're now competing against players an entire year older. Okay, so if you were born September 30th, 2014, let's just say, you now are not going to be on your 2014 team. Okay, you technically, with the change in the birth year, and players who are 2013 from September to December will now be part of that cycle. Okay, so if you are going to play, you're now going to have to compete against some kids who might even be maybe even older than a year older than you. So it changes the player pool. So yes, you have the opportunity, but you might not make that team. Lastly, it just says that U.S. Soccer performed this assessment available data. This is how they determined September 1st versus August 31st. Apparently, it's 68% of the school districts in the country. So they're missing a huge percentage here, actually. 32% of the school districts in the country are not September 1st to August 31st. Boy, they snuck that one in at the end, huh? 32% of the school districts, this isn't helping. Wow. Again, I don't want to be negative. I do think that this is a good thing for our youth and for soccer in general. And I did want to make sure everybody understood this, because so the organizations who are doing this, right? So it's US Youth, US Club, AYSO. Okay. If you're thinking about what leagues this is going to impact, US Club sponsors ECNL, so that's on the boys and the girls side, NAL and NPL. So those are kind of the big competitive leagues that US Club does. Now they do a variety of other like recreational and community leagues. They sponsor and sanction those. But to be honest, a lot of those leagues were already, they didn't even make the switch. They're like, no, we're not doing that. So that's not a big deal. U.S. Youth Soccer, if you guys are familiar, that is EDP and all the national leagues and conferences within. So the question becomes, and here's where a little bit of the confusion is gonna reign. You could have one club, let's just say, Acme FC. Okay, they could have, let's say, 4 or 5 teams in an age group. Let's say it's a big club. The first 2, let's say, play MLS 1 and 2. Okay. Now, MLS Next, excuse me. MLS Next is sanctioned completely through MLS. There's nothing that US Soccer, US Club Soccer, AYSO, they have nothing to do with that. So my sources tell me, and maybe I'll be wrong, that MLS Next is not going to make this change, that they are going to stay with the international, quote unquote, international standard, which makes sense because they are technically the 1% of players in the country. They are the best players, most of, in general. So you could have a club, Acme FC, who has two clubs in MLS Next, so MLS 1 and 2, and then the other teams play, let's say, EDP or ECNL or something else. And so you're going to have different age group requirements for different, teams within a same age group of a club. So that'll be a little bit confusing, I think, for the clubs to try to manage. But that again is something where, again, I think US Soccer could have just come in and said, this is what we think MLS Next should do, this is what we think ECNL should do, and everybody else do this, or something like that. So guys, tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know. Like I said, we've done a couple other videos on this exact topic as it was kind of coming. So if you want to make some comments on there, check out that videos, go ahead too. Got a bunch of stuff planned for the spring, a bunch of new content coming out. So hang out for that, and hope everyone's doing well. See you on the next one.